Welcome in to season 2, episode 4 of Clips and Dip. I'm Adam Osland. Coming up on this episode, as we do have a special guest we'll get to in just a moment here, but we'll do a little hot take, not take. Oh, sorry, Joseph, you retired. We're taking that from you. No, I'm kidding. But we will talk some hot takes of this offseason, Clippers related, or just anything we want. Plus, in the second segment, we'll talk about, is Terance Mann going to be included in any trade that involves James Harden, or is that the holdup right now, who seems to be hell-bent on becoming a Clipper, Harden the bearded wonder, that is? But first, let's start things off with our friend Justin Russo. Follow him at FlyByNight on Twitter. Does fabulous work covering the Clippers, has been doing it for years. Was actually out at Summer League, though.
Damn.
So doing the Lord's work, when you're out there
I
in
don't know
that
if it's the
heat,
Lord's work.
in that heat, that's 40 days in the desert, I think. Justin, thanks for coming on Clips and Dip. What's up?
I'm actually thankful to be back. I didn't think I would enjoy humidity, but I enjoy it very much after 114-degree heat in Vegas. So yeah, it was pretty bad in Vegas, but I'm thankful to be home. I don't mind humidity now, but it was. I think I was there 5 days. I was there from the 8th through the 12th, and I was ready to leave by the third day. I remember sitting. I was sitting there watching a Wizards game, and I was sitting next to next to Chase, who does the Wizard stuff for NBC Sports in DC. And I remember at one point, I think it was the third quarter, I just looked at him. I go, I think I'm just basketballed out, man.
You were watching the Wizards play Summer League. That makes perfect sense.
It was Wizards Spurs, and I was just like, I can't do it anymore. I'm done.
Now, we're still waiting for Will Updyke to join us. He'll be with us in just a little bit. Obviously, Chuck Mockler here, but we do want to pick the brain of Justin Russo being out at Summer League. Aside from the heat and feeling like you're in an old 90s Zima commercial, what were some of your takeaways? What? That's a hot reference nowadays. How dare you, Chuck? Remember the fly swatter and everything was sticky? It was so hot. Okay, but speaking of, let's talk a little bit about the Clippers and Kobe Brown from 3. In game 4, I think it was from him, where he hit 7 3-pointers in Summer League, ended up with 35 points, and unfortunately turned the left ankle in their final game. But just what was it like seeing him in person? Because we always hear things like, in person, this guy looks much bigger or thinner or this or that. What were your takeaways from Kobe Brown and the young guys in Summer League?
With Kobe Brown in particular, I think up close and personal, I know on TV it's hard to get an idea of like how big certain guys are.
Right.
In Summer League, being able to sit down near the baseline, he's a big guy. Like, obviously he's not the tallest guy and he's not, the longest guy, but when he gets down low, he moves people and he's very physically imposing. And my biggest takeaway with him was, I don't feel like he went out of his comfort zone. I think everything he did for the most part is stuff he'll be asked to do at the NBA level, which is spot up in corners, just spot up in general, take advantage of mismatches down low, rebound. The biggest thing that surprised me, and I knew he had gotten better defensively in college, but the thing that surprised me was how well he played passing lanes, even in just Summer League, which I know it's hard to translate things from Summer League to the NBA sometimes with certain skill sets, but he was very handsy in passing lanes. He was very quick twitchy in passing lanes. He understood where to be. I talked to both him and Jordan Miller about the differences between the college game and the NBA level as far as what they've learned, even in the short period of time. Jordan Miller gave me an interesting answer, which was, in college, he was always taught that when he closed out on a shooter, to always force them to drive the middle of the floor. But in Summer League with the Clippers, it was always to force them baseline. So that was the one thing he had to retrain.
Fun adjustment, try and make as you try out for your NBA team.
Jordan Miller was in college, I think 4 or 5 years. So, and obviously at 2 different universities. So, he went through different coaching rigors and staffs and, philosophies. So he had to learn. Kobe Brown said that, the biggest thing for him is in college, their thing was always to deny the next pass. But with the Clippers, it's to shrink the floor so that, you limit the space down low, you limit passing lanes that way. And so he said he had to learn that and how to play passing lanes more. I think he played passing lanes pretty well. He's got the hand speed. He's got the know-how how to do it. So from that perspective, I would say that was a real positive beyond just what he did on the offensive end.
Right, which I don't think anyone other than Adam is going to expect him to hit 50% of his threes now that he did it.
46%.
Excuse me, 46% now that he's in actually up in the league. What do we think his G League minutes look like? Because I don't think, or what do his regular minutes look like? But I like the G League team is already pretty full for the Clippers. They're very good. You got Preston, I'm assuming, is going to be down there. You got Brandon Boston Jr. maybe. But where do you see Kobe, I mean, kind of fitting into this? I keep wanting to call them the Agua Caliente Clippers, but whatever they are now.
We got used to calling them Agua Caliente for years. So yeah, it's a retrain. As far as Kobe in the G League, I think probably like Musa last year, like maybe 30 minutes a night, where he's the 4. He is a 4. They view him as a 4 and an occasional small ball 5.
And Musa's been playing a little bit at the 4 for the AC Clippers. So that'll be interesting to see when they pair them, because maybe they'll move Musa down to the 5 where he has the starting spot.
Yeah, they view Musa as anything. Like he's
another one of those.
I mean, as weird as it sounds, every time you talk to them, they're just like, well, Musa guards 1 through 5, so it doesn't really matter what position. To be fair, he is a 5. Musa is a 5. Yeah. He's a rim running 5 who the only thing he wants to do is shoot in the restricted area. That's fine.
Yeah.
A lot of guys have been paid in the NBA just off of only shooting in the restricted area. Sure. And I think Kobe is in a weird way at the G League level is the perfect guy around him. He's the physical guy who can guard down low if he has to, and he's the floor spacer. I think they'll work pretty well. G League wise, I think Kobe probably averages about 30 minutes. NBA wise, I don't know. I mean, I've heard people I've talked to think he could crack, day 1 rotation. Other people I've talked to said there's kind of no way unless, pieces get shipped out and that becomes the reality. So I don't know. I mean, it's July 20th right now.
Yes.
There's so much time left that, I mean, at this point, he might not ever play an NBA game this year. And on the other hand, it's like he might play a lot of NBA games this year.
Chuck brought up his 3-point shooting, and just speaking more to that in his form and what you saw there, because before that game where he had 35 and 7 3-pointers, he was struggling from the outside. The shot looked good. The form looked good, but there were still some air balls. There were some errant shots from him. Was that just him settling in and getting comfortable? Do you think what we saw that senior year at Mizzou can translate at all to the NBA level, and that's a necessary skill for him to have at this level for him to be successful?
It's weird. I lately, as I've analyzed players, I go to the phrase sometimes, I don't know. I don't know if it's translatable.
No, I respect that so much. It's refreshing to hear someone just say, I don't know.
I don't know if it's relatable. I don't know if that last year at Missouri, I don't know if the first 3 years at Missouri are more like what he'll be at the NBA or if the last year is. I think if I had to project him, 37, 38%, I know that's not, elite level. And
nothing to sneeze at.
Not bad either. Yeah, it's not bad either. It's
above average.
It's very interesting. Yeah, it's above average. The thing that's very interesting with him form-wise is it's very hard to watch him up close and not get distinct PJ Tucker vibes.
All right.
Like when you watch him up close, shot profile, just shot form profile, it really looks like PJ Tucker. And look, PJ Tucker's had an incredible career.
Potential Clipper.
Lives in the corner.
PJ Tucker.
Let's relax for a second on that. So, but it's funny because with Kobe, it's like there's some off the dribble stuff with him, but not a lot. And if there is, it's because he finds someone down low that he can, power through the hoop, essentially. I think the thing that kind of got lost with him in Summer League is he competes at a high level. There wasn't a time on the floor when I watched him up close, and even on TV when I came back, where I thought that he wasn't trying as hard.
He wasn't dogging it out there.
Some guys float.
Yeah.
Some guys float through the game. I didn't ever feel like he was just on the floor. I felt like you would notice him every now and then. He would pop up with something, especially obviously the game he scored 35. But it's like every game there was something that you could latch onto with him. We're like, okay, he did that better today than he did yesterday, kind of thing.
What about Jordan Miller, since you're bringing up floating through a game? It felt like he disappeared at times. He's young. It was his first experience at this level. Uh, People love the size that he brings. He kind of looks like a prototypical wing in today's NBA, and just the versatility aspect, which is something the Clippers certainly seem to covet. But how does he project in your mind of playing at the next level and what he could look like?
He's the interesting case to me of a guy who in summer league is never going to look good.
We talked about that a
Because-
little bit. There's certain archetypes of guys who can look very good in summer league. The oversized center can look phenomenal in summer league and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, and with Jordan, I looked at it almost like he's this slashing three who, yes, he can make a three at times, but he's way more comfortable cutting from the slot, making these backdoor reads, things like that, getting out in transition. In summer league, you don't get a lot of that really.
Right.
So it's harder for him. I would say a big negative from him at summer league was he fouled every jump shooter he
Right.
got close to, which I'm not going to blame him for. He got overzealous. It happens. Okay. I'm not going to criticize him too much. The big positive I actually liked out of him is I really did kind of fall in love with his somewhat like his Euro step game, and he had a really sneaky passing feel when he got downhill, which was kind of nice. I don't know if the shot is going to be the thing that ever fully comes around, but I see why the Clippers were enamored. I think he's going to be a guy who this next season, his whole year's in the G League.
That makes sense. I don't think, that checks out given everything.
So it'll. I mean, I don't think he's ever going to be a scorer. And by a scorer, I mean I would be very surprised at the NBA level if he averaged 15 points.
Oh wow!
Ever.
Okay.
It's more or less like he is the prototypical glue guy, where when you throw him on the floor, you know what you're getting, and he's not going to overstep his bounds as a player. The two Clippers guys, yes, it's been talked about a lot about how old they are, and yeah, they were two of the four oldest players in the draft.
And the team is old already, so it makes sense it's talked about.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not like they got super athletic guys, yes, they are athletic obviously by nature, but they're not rim running, powerhouse dunkers. They're not like a KJ Martin, obviously. Yeah. I mean, the funny thing, I'm sure you guys have pointed out with KJ, is he's a full year younger than they are.
Oh my God, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. He's a full year younger than they are, and he's been in the league for 3 years. So,
I joked about this. I think the Clippers accidentally set their Excel sheet to sort by age, and that's how they made their picks this year. I think someone bumped the keyboard.
Look, we've all screwed up in an Excel.
Hey, we have. I haven't at the NBA draft. I would like the opportunity to screw up at the NBA draft with an Excel spreadsheet.
It'd be a fun job to screw up in, But with Jordan, I do understand people when they say they get Terance Mann vibes out of him. The difference I would say is with Terance, even in the summer league that first year, I think you saw the it factor, where he understood the game at such a level that he didn't look overwhelmed. I felt Jordan looked a little bit overwhelmed at times, and I think the G League will do him some good to kind of rein in where he needs to be in terms of reading the game. Because he did tell me in one of the nights in Vegas that
one of those summer league nights, one of those classic summer league nights in Vegas.
I won't tell you where we were that night, but I'm just kidding. We were in the arenas. Okay,
that's wild.
Wait, is the arena the name of some weird club, or do you mean actual arena? Because there's an arena in K-Town that's it's a fun club, but it's
Was it like an underground fight scene where you could see a bear and a tiger go at it or something? Was it straight out of Best of the Best 2 with Eric Roberts?
Your references are all over the place today, Adam.
The bear and the tiger were at the Mirage. So, what's it called? With Jordan, he told me that it's taken him some time to kind of catch up with the speed.
Okay.
He said the speed is the thing that he's kind of having to catch up with. And also, he said he's trying to do too much. He said that the thing he's trying to also learn is that in the NBA, guys stand around a lot. And he said, he goes, that's not a negative thing. He said the guys are just so talented at the NBA level, you have more
Right.
spacing, so you don't want to start moving and bogging it up. And he said when he was at practice the first few days, he kept getting caught moving around. And when he kept getting caught moving around, it was killing spacing for other people. So he's having to learn how not to move as much. And I think that's a tough
That
thing
feels
to
like
do.
that's almost like court vision. You need your
Yeah.
court vision to set up before being, because everyone probably who's already in the NBA knows exactly how he's going to move around when he's doing his thing. So they're like, we all know what you're trying to do right now.
Right. And I think when we think about like off-ball movement, we like obviously you think of guys cutting, running off screens, stuff like that. But also sometimes off-ball movement is just not moving.
Yeah.
Like in terms of if you just space the floor and let the movement come to you based on, drive, kick, swing, and then another swing, like that is still a part of movement. And I think he's still trying to learn that aspect.
I felt like Carmelo Anthony with the Denver Nuggets really performed not moving at the elite level when he just laid there on the floor for 2 possessions.
Yeah, that's what we need from our guys right now. So other than, like Xavier Moon being probably the best player there, which makes total sense because he's played in the NBA more and he's older than everybody else. What should fans take away from this summer league? Should we just the draft in general, should we just forget about the fact that we had the 20th pick and we let it go for 24 games of Eric Gordon? Or how are we feeling about that?
I understand it's a tough thing to kind of forget, but
people are really like
that,
Cam Whitmore was great in the summer league, but the hype machine of everything with the NBA in the offseason feels insane right now. So
I saw Anthony Bennett have a good summer league once.
Former Clipper for a very short period of time. Right. So how can we I guess let's tackle the 20th pick thing. Should fans just forget about it? Should we just move on? Would the Clippers even drafted him at number 20?
Well, I'll put it to you this way. If the Clippers saw the 20th pick, he probably wouldn't even have been on the board.
That's fair.
Like that's like you never know how the draft is going to shake out. Like, yeah, you can sit there and say, well, he was taken with the pick the Clippers would have had, but I don't know. Maybe things change in the basketball universe if they had kept the 20th pick. Maybe they moved the 20th pick anyways to get something else. Like, you never know. So, I mean, yeah, you could look back in 10, 15 years and be like, oh man, they traded, the 20th pick and traded the Cam. They traded the 20th pick and Luke Kennard. So Cam Whitmore and Luke Kennard for Eric Gordon in the 30th pick, and then they let Eric Gordon go. And there's a very real possibility that Cam Whitmore is an all-star level player in the future, and Kobe Brown's out of the league in 3 or 4 years. Like, that's a very realistic possibility based on their talent profile heading into the draft. But what I would say is, who cares? It's done. You can't really relitigate it. Like, it is what it is. I know I've been guilty of it in the past where I'm like, hey, the pick that the Clippers gave up to dump Jared Dudley turned into like Matisse Thybulle.
Yeah.
And or it was OG Anunoby. And then another pick they gave up turned into Matisse Thybulle. Like, yeah, that sucks, but it is what it is. You got to move on.
Yeah, that's true. Will Updyke joining us from my house. Will is in my kitchen right now, which is very funny.
Hit some traffic. It was brutal, but I'm here. I made it.
Dude, eat from his fridge. Just start down and stuff. Like,
There's
you can do nothing about it.
Drink.
I heard you doing that. I was like, I know someone's pouring a drink right now. Well, Will, you came at the perfect time. We're talking how no one should think about losing the 20th pick. Justin Russo has given a fantastic breakdown of the rookies. But now we would love you to counterpoint everything he just said without having heard it.
I fundamentally disagree. The 20th pick. Think of the history of Clippers late draft picks and how valuable that could be. Unrelated, but like, how do you feel about giving up draft equity, albeit seconds, in the move for Gordon to go ahead and just not keep him?
Disregarding the 20th pick, just like the business in general of it.
Yeah.
So I had conversations with people at Summer League, both Clippers people and not Clippers people. And the overwhelming consensus I got from people is, why did they do it? Like, from the non-Clippers people, it was like, everyone understood the $110 million in tax savings. Like, everyone gets it. It's not like this dirty secret. It's out in the open. Everyone sees the Bobby Marks and Woj tweets about it. Like, it's, it is what it is. I just have a very tough time kind of agreeing with the methodology. Like, I get it. their whole plan is to kind of get under the second apron at some point. Especially,
How?
well,
That's what I
know
was
it's-
cringing at. How? Like, we're gonna add James
Okay,
Harden and get under it.
Light years,
So-
boys.
the things I've heard are that one of the things is by the draft next year, they wanted to be under the second apron so that they could send out money to get draft picks. Because the second apron stuff forbids you from sending out
Right.
money. So I think I have it, oddly enough, in an Excel spreadsheet. They're like $15 million over the second apron, I believe, right now. And yeah, there's ways they can get under it. But there's no one left with cap space to just dump $15 million into and, save it that way. The reason I kind of disagreed with just dumping him was because he's going to be an unrestricted free agent anyways at the end of this coming season. And if the real punitive second apron stuff doesn't start until next
Why
offseason,
not?
yeah, like just go through it and just say, look, because when you look at Eric Gordon, I talked to two people at Summer League. When you look at Eric Gordon, it's very hard to find a guy that kind of fits better alongside Kawhi and PG. He's not a ball dominant guy. He's a very, very good shooter.
And from deep,
spaces
like
the floor.
deep.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not just a floor spacer. He is a deep floor spacer. When he came onto the team, at the trade deadline, they got asked, Kawhi, PG, Ty all got asked, like, what does he bring you? And Kawhi even said at one point, his gravity is so good that because he can shoot from so far, defenders can't cheat at the elbow as much as they want to. So it allows Kawhi more driving lanes. It allows PG better driving lanes. Like all these things. But he never got to play with them because everyone got hurt, as they always get hurt. And I kind of think that we overlooked the fact that, he shot 42% from three on really good volume with the Clippers. And that's the kind of guy who, if you're building a team alongside Kawhi and PG, I think it's okay to have him on the floor. He's not going to play 30
He wants
minutes
to
a night.
be
He's
there
probably gonna
too,
play
is the other
20.
part. He wants to contribute to winning a ring in the exact ways that he's perfectly tailored to do it, which I think, yeah.
Right. He doesn't overstep his bounds. He's just like that. Like he knows what he can do, and he doesn't really go beyond that. I actually saw him at Summer League, still in a good mood. It was nice to see him.
What'd you guys talk about? Brunch?
Of course, come on. We went to the Bellagio buffet together. Just hung
Well,
out
the
for a while,
Caesars is where it's at, but continue.
Is the Caesars buffet good?
Yeah, the Caesars buffet is really good. It's a crazy seafood buffet.
See-
It's insane.
Well, the seafood tower is optional, but I think my thing that's like leaving a really sour taste in my mouth, and it's not just the gin that I poured for myself from Charles's house, is that you knew that he was going to go to a Western Conference competitor. You're a team looking at the Western Conference and the arms race that is to be at the top of that right now, losing an asset for nothing, giving up assets in the process of getting that asset, knowing that he's going to help another team that you will likely have to face in the playoffs. I guess my question is, like, did the Russ buyout and subsequent, hometown deal change the Clippers' plan enough that they were willing to take that risk? Or do you think it's solely a tax move?
I think it's both. I think that when they re-signed Russ, or knew that they were going to re-sign Russ, I think it affected Eric's future with the team. I think that they thought there was going to be a minutes crunch. That's something I disagree on, but my opinion doesn't matter, at least as far as the Clippers are concerned. It's really hard to justify the move just as a tax thing, because if you just look at it as a tax thing, and this is just me personally, I don't think you can sit there and say, on one hand, Steve Ballmer will spend whatever it takes to win, and then on the other hand, waive a decently good player to save $110 million.
Do you know how much
on
toilets
tax.
cost? The man has to pay for 237 toilets in the damn stadium, Russo.
It's a lot of toilets out there. I could attest. I was there on draft night. I was able to take a tour of the stadium on draft night. I have seen where all these toilets most likely will go.
All
Did
right.
you eat some Taco Bell beforehand? Did you try anything?
Yeah, you
out,
took
or?
a tour. What does that mean? Is that TOUR or TWO-ER? What are we doing here? All right. We got to talk the James Harden stuff. We have to take a small ad break. But before we do that, some of you have complained that the ads are too loud. And if that's still your case, Adam apparently does not care for your opinion on that. But if they've been too loud, if you go ahead and turn it down, we're going to talk the James Harden and Terance Mann stuff. Justin Russo is going to explain why Marcus Morris's rebounding really helps out the Clippers. All of that coming up after this ad break in 3, 2, 1. What is going on? We're back. And with Justin Russo, Will Updyke is also joined us. Thank you, Will, for making it happen. Very happy everyone on YouTube over at youtube.com/@Clippers Podcast can see what my kitchen looks like. Will is sitting in it right now.
Oh, we're live right now?
No, we're not live.
Oh, son of
a...
Adam, move your camera down or your chair up. The bottom of your face is getting cut off.
Man,
I
I'm
wanted to
just
say
chilling.
something. He's hanging out, bro. It's called Xanax, Will. So the story, of today, we're recording this on Thursday. James Harden, who, if anyone could refresh my memory, I just can't remember what team he wants to only play for should he be traded from the 76ers. I think it's the Clippers. He posted on Instagram today something about how he's been comfortable and now it's time to get uncomfortable. Who's excited to add this guy to the squad, huh? Like, what, Justin, how do you feel on the whole about adding James Harden now that we it seems like the holdup is should the Clippers include Terance Mann and or Norm Powell?
He's a good fit. I'm not going to sit here
Led
and
the
say
league
he's
in
not a good
assists,
fit.
didn't he? Isn't that right? Like,
yeah, he's an elite level passer. Obviously, everyone knows incredible isolation player, fantastic pick and roll guy. Yada yada yada. We go through this with James Harden every 18 months, so like everyone knows what he's good at because whatever new team is trying to trade for him knows what he's good at and tells everyone what he's good at.
Yeah.
So I think he's a good fit. I totally get why the Clippers would be interested. I understand it from a salary cap perspective. I understand it from a fit perspective. I understand it from on court, off court, etc.
From an off court perspective,
it's hard just because of his relationships with Russ and PG and Kawhi.
Back home,
going back to 2019, he's the guy that Kawhi Leonard wanted first.
Okay, fair point.
And back then, the Clippers and Rockets had negotiations, and the Rockets basically said, we're not trading him. And then 18 months later, they traded him because that's
the James
basketball.
Harden cycle.
Yeah. So, James Harden as a player, I think, gets crapped on a lot. And I also think he's pretty underrated at times. And I also understand why people crap on him at times. He's
a Clipper. That sounds like a Clipper to me.
Yeah. Always injured star who gets crapped on at times.
Sure.
Perfect.
He'll win you some playoff games. He might not show up in some playoff games. That's a Clipper.
but
that's the roller
ultimately,
coaster.
Justin, do you think it gets them to a place where they have a better chance to win the championship this year by adding James Harden?
Depending on what they give up, I would say so. And I look at it as if you even increase your title probability by 1%, I think it's something you should do. I mean, as weird as that
You're talking
sounds,
about very thin margins. I mean, like, to win a championship, it's not as broad as people think it is. Like, even when the Heatles, any team other than the Durant Warriors, I feel like the margins that you're talking about are quite slim.
And even they needed a lot of help from the Rockets. So,
yeah, very true.
Hey, James Harden helps everybody, so it is what it is. But even if you bump it by 1%, I think that is worth it. I like I said, from the salary cap standpoint, I get it. If they feel that going to get Harden is the best play because, he's an unrestricted free agent at the end of this coming season, and, maybe you don't max him, or maybe you don't max Kawhi, or maybe you don't max PG. Either way, if they just decide to go get Harden, one of the ways they could look, I'm not saying the way they will, but the way that they could look at it is we have 3 superstars that are entering expiring years. While yes, Kawhi and PG have player options, odds are they decline them because they'll get more money via extension or free agency. But they would have 3 superstars set to be free agents. And if it goes poorly, maybe you just decide to sit there and go, look, we tried it, we can move on, and you just start fresh.
Ooh, that's
now,
as fresh as possible, I would say. After
well, the big question is, are they willing to do that year one going into a new arena? And that's the $2 billion question, or however much it costs to build that arena, because they're going to have to look in the mirror if it goes pretty poorly and then make some really tough decisions about whether or not they want to introduce what will be a bad basketball team. If they let those 3 guys go, it will be a bad basketball team.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So Justin, go ahead, Will.
We know that you oftentimes sit next to Lawrence Frank at games. We know that you're in his ear. You have his personal cell phone number. You're talking to Lawrence. What's the max offer right now, July 20th, 2023, that you are willing to give for James Harden?
Thank you for the year.
I hate talking about sending guys out in trades because it really makes me feel bad because, like, when you get to know them as like people in the locker room, like,
we're not allowed in the locker room, so
we
whatever,
won't
man.
we won't tell you. We won't tell them that you said this. I doubt they're listening.
I will say my seats for games when I get media credentials are the elevator, so that's how the team thinks of us. So
that's not bad though. That gets you out there. That gets you out the arena pretty fast because it gets dicey. As for the furthest I think I would go, and I know this is gonna sound crazy, I think I would go. I don't think I would include Terance, as weird as that sounds, unless if you include Terance, you keep other things out of the equation.
Right.
As far as the Clippers are concerned, if they include Terance, I don't think they should include first. If they don't include Terance, I think they should include first, and maybe even a swap.
Because they might have to as well, right?
Are you more willing to part with draft equity versus Terance?
Yes.
Because, like, who cares at this point? We're all in at this point.
Yeah, I think at a certain point in what their current endeavor is, which is they give up so much for PG.
Did they?
And obviously not.
I'm not reminded of that every single time.
Yeah, I know.
I log in.
Yeah, you guys were talking about the 20th pick earlier. Like, everybody's going to look back on this. It's like, no, there's something else everybody is always looking back on and talking about. Jeez.
I wrote a couple weeks ago that, like, they're in the sunk cost fallacy era, which is like either you cut bait now, and just recoup as much as you can, or you just keep pushing everything to the middle of the table and you don't care about the bill that's coming due, because at the end of the day, this is your best chance to win a title. Like, as sad as that sounds, like, their best chance was probably 2 years ago, and then Kawhi got hurt.
The bubble too. Like, I think the bubble was a great chance.
The bubble.
Like, had there not been a global pandemic,
I mean, and other things.
Sure. I don't actually remember that period of time. I've completely blocked it out.
That's what trauma does to you,
Yeah.
But I think giving up draft picks is fine. I don't think I know they care about it, and I know this new collective bargaining agreement puts a lot of value on draft picks specifically. But one of the things I had a conversation with someone about at Summer League was, I kind of think the Phoenix Suns have realized the market inefficiency with the new collective bargaining agreement, which is just pick swap, just trade pick swaps all the time. It doesn't matter, because if you're over the second apron so many years, your pick inherently will always be number 30.
Shit,
so
you're
so
right.
It doesn't matter.
We're here anyway.
Yeah, like, it doesn't matter. If I'm going to get the worst of every first round pick anyways, why not make it the worst one? Who cares? So, like, at the end of the day, they're essentially you're trading nothing. You're trading nothing. And
how many
something.
times can a pick be swapped?
What's your offer then? What's your offer?
A lot.
It Norm, Morris, a first, and whatever other salary to make it work?
Let's not discredit what Morris brings to the rebounding table for the Clippers.
I think the offer that they're going to go in first with is something like Marcus Rocco, Amir and a couple other things.
Still the
maybe
bare
Bones,
minimum,
maybe the
yeah.
bare minimum, and then draft equity. And like, look, we'll give you this in draft equity. And obviously Philly's going to say no, and as they should.
Sure.
It's not a good offer. It's it's a very bad offer. It's worse than the offer Washington got for Bradley Beal, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like as simple as that.
It's a lot different, though.
I kind of look.
One player is a player with years on the contract. Still, I mean, even though it's a bad offer, still very different scenarios versus a 1-year rental. I think that changes things.
The UFA thing freaks me out.
He's not leaving if he comes here.
I mean,
I'm just saying. I look at it like if you trade for him. So I explained this to someone. I explained this to Tomer in Vegas. Actually,
shit.
I actually
get explained on, Tomer.
I said if you look at James Harden's career, he's in his midlife crisis now.
Man,
when he first
no, you're totally right. I'm like,
when he first was in the NBA,
he's gonna cut the beard off like Richie Tannenbaum.
He's gonna come back just with a mustache and like some like a jacket. They're gonna be like, what are you doing?
Elliott
James?
Smith, Needle in the Hay is gonna be playing in the background. You like that reference, Chuck? How about that?
That one's way better than Zima and whatever C movie you referenced earlier.
65.
When you look at James,
no, okay, we're going to talk about that in the therd segment, Russo.
Sorry,
I hope
Justin,
you've seen 65.
I haven't.
It's a great movie.
He's a smart man.
When you look at James, though, in OKC, it was I want to get paid. They didn't pay him, so it's I want my own team. Goes to his own team, gets paid. Well, I want all these guys to join me. All those guys join him. Dwight joins them. All the other guys join him. Well, this isn't working out, so I kind of want to go somewhere else. So he goes somewhere else, and that somewhere else is Brooklyn to play with his friends. That doesn't, go according to
that one. I feel like he can't be blamed for. Like I know James Harden gets a lot of shit for jumping teams. A lot of people would leave that situation. You would leave a situation where one of your coworkers was openly refusing to work for 65 of the 85 days or 82 days that you work. Like you would absolutely leave. Anyone would leave that situation.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it was like James got to Brooklyn to play with his friends, and they went, I don't like that friend, though.
We're not friends like this.
It's like when you start hanging out with someone more and more, and you realize, actually, we're not that compatible. Like, this is not great. So, and then he's like, well, I want to try to win a title. So he goes to Philly. And he plays under Daryl Morey, essentially.
And then now there's another very important component to that equation, which I also feel like gets left out. As soon as he got traded to a Doc Rivers team, like you knew that it was going to end disastrously. You knew, and not even just because of Doc, but the way that Doc treats players and deals with the media, especially after a massive after a flame out, you know that's not going to work. I feel like he should get 2 buys on some of these trade requests, to be perfectly fair.
I don't disagree. I think the Philly thing was just kind of doomed from the beginning.
Yeah.
And then there's the other caveat with Philly, which I'll get into in a second. But then now I think he's in the I just want to go home stage of his life. It's
where Russ is.
I try to do all these other things. Yeah.
Move where Russ is. Start a family, settle down.
Okay, let's not go too far for Mr.
Grow
Harden.
tomatoes, man. Live your Thanos life.
The other thing with Harden that I don't think gets enough airtime right now is whether or not we want to talk about the dirty little secret in Philadelphia. There was some variation of a handshake deal last offseason, and Philly, I'm not going to say they reneged on it, but they did not commit to the level.
So do we also, going back to we were talking the Eric Gordon stuff, the Clippers, it's not crazy to think waived Eric Gordon thinking because they maybe thought for whatever reasons that Harden was going to opt in or opt out and then open up, you know what I'm saying? The sign and trade possibility. Is that right? Or is that off base? Would that have even been possible?
They were too far over the luxury tax at that point. They would have had to offload
like PG.
I remember not to that level. I remember I did the math one day, and I think it was they would have had to offload $50 million in
So
total.
I mean,
to like
okay, so
yeah.
not
get rid
real.
Of, get rid of get rid of the 3 4s that we probably need to cut anyways, and you're more than 3/4 of the way there.
Yeah, for one guy.
yeah.
Okay, so that makes sense.
I don't know if they knew he was opting in, at least to the point where like I think they had already made the decision on Eric
Okay.
ahead of time. And
somehow makes it
weird is
way
like
worse, but okay.
Yeah. Especially in the NBA when everyone knows everything. So like it's always worse. And like if they had just kept Eric, they could have traded him to Philly, who he would have been really good next to Embiid too. But with Harden, I think he gets blamed too much for, as Will said, for some of the stuff. And then other stuff is the stuff that he just does on his own.
He doesn't help his own case.
He showed up in Houston in a fat suit and was like, "Hey guys, what's up?" And like everyone was like, "Oh, that doesn't look like your normal, muscular definition there."
We've seen your Instagram.
It got murky.
This isn't checking out.
Yeah.
Wait, you mean a player perhaps working himself into shape? He sounds like a Clipper. We got it all. He checks all the boxes.
He sounds like Shaq with his big toe in 2002.
So where are we all kind of at on the should the Clippers do this? Because it does seem like the stop is Terance and or Norm. Adam, we'll start with you. Adam straight chilling Oslin, for those of you not on the YouTube. He's just posted up in his chair.
Did you smoke weed today, Adam?
Today? Is it a weekday?
Adam said never on Wednesdays, bro. Would you do the Harden trade? Are you doing the Harden trade involving Terance Mann? Are we going all in to win this chip and whatever happens?
I don't know if it's going to take Terance Mann, but if it does, I like the way Justin put it. Or if you're giving up Mann, you're not giving up draft picks or vice versa. Because Philly's in such a difficult spot right now without other suitors, it looks like, at least at the moment, for James Harden, because they know he's hell-bent on wanting to come to the Clippers. And Justin touched upon it, but I think he would for sure be back and not end up going anywhere else after this season unless things went so terribly, because he wants to be back home as well. I think that's part of the allure of being a Clipper and joining these guys that are trying to do something for the first time in a place they grew up, winning a championship with the Clippers. I think that's part of the equation. But my biggest reason, Justin, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, to bring in James Harden is because it could slot Russell Westbrook in a position that optimizes his talents more, which is playing more with the secondary unit and maybe coming off the bench to start off ball games, because I don't see him starting over Harden if that's the discussion. Whether or not both of them could play next to Kawhi and Paul George and then Ivica Zubac in the starting lineup, I don't know. But I would love to see Russell Westbrook be featured as the leader of the second unit, and I think Harden gives you a better chance of that happening.
I love that, Adam, because my question is, so on one hand, the Clippers have a lot of leverage in that he's not looking to go to other teams. But on the other hand, if you're looking at yourself in the mirror seriously, what is this team's ceiling with the current lineup with Russell Westbrook as your starting point guard?
Are we talking Marcus Morris being on the roster as well? Because we're also
as currently constructed, my friend.
And let's not forget what he brings to the rebounding game.
I just see there being zero chance that this is the team they would go into training camp with. I still think there would have to be moves made, even if Harden isn't one of them.
As is, this is not a
okay. But all right, so let's say we consolidate the four, which we've all talked about as being, one of the larger issues for the amount of salaries that we're paying for what we currently have. What is this team's ceiling with Russell Westbrook as your starting point guard?
Second round, probably right now.
That's not crazy. The West is nuts.
But I also
feel like what seed? Like 6?
I mean,
no, I'd say 3. That
sounds insane.
That sounds crazy because that sounds insane. But then look at the rest of the West. What other team in the West besides Denver and Phoenix can you sit there and say 100% unequivocally better than the Clippers
on paper?
I
Going
On
into the
paper,
season.
I
going
wouldn't
into the
say
season.
Sacramento or Golden State. I wouldn't. Memphis, no.
New
Ja's going to
Orleans?
be out 25 games. I think New Orleans, if they're all healthy and Zion, peaks, they could be a real
I
problem.
mean, they have the exact same question as the Clippers, so it's kind of like
Yeah. Suns, probably better. Not a lot of depth, but
It's one of those things when you look at all the teams in the West outside of Denver, because Jokic just never gets hurt, and I hope to God I didn't just jinx that. But like, you look at the rest of the teams. Phoenix has guys who get hurt. Durant and Beal, they've missed games the last couple of years. Booker missed games the last couple of years. You look at the Lakers, obviously AD and LeBron have missed games. You look at Memphis, obviously Ja's out for 25 games right off the bat. You look at any of the other teams, there's questions. There are questions. Like Sacramento last year had an incredible amount of health, and then it kind of caught up to them in the playoffs because Sabonis had the thumb issue and all this other stuff. But like, you look at these other teams in the West, and there's not a team outside of Denver, just because, I mean, it's Jokic, but all the other West teams, there are questions about health. And I just think we're at the era of the NBA level now where every team, for the most part, has big health question marks. Milwaukee has health question marks in the East. Philly has health question marks. You start going down. Miami does too. Jimmy Butler misses games. Kyle
Lakers
Lowry's
in the
missed
West.
games. You start – yeah, Lakers and it's every team for the most part has, no one's really playing, 75, 80 games a year unless their name is Mikal Bridges, who apparently can play 83 in a season.
we'll see if he can do it
that's
again
how
next
that worked
year.
out.
I hope he can, but that's how this shit works.
Yeah, I mean, it's as far as the Clippers are constructed right now, I could see them being a second round team. But as the playoffs have proven, it's all matchup related. Like, it doesn't seed.
I want to be top
seed
four.
matters,
I want
but
home. I
you
want
can't
home
say seed
court.
doesn't
Seeding
matter.
matters.
Like,
We're not the Heat.
I know that the Lakers reconstructed their team, but like looking at like
go to the Clips too.
Who made the conference finals last year? Like, you can't say that seed doesn't matter.
That's fair. I do think that last year is an anomaly as far as like teams making it as far as they did while being
fair.
From the play-in. Like, because last year what was historically the most compressed year ever in terms of standings. Like teams were just way too close together, like historically speaking. So seed does matter. I shouldn't say seeding doesn't matter. But, I mean, the Clippers have said over and over, seeding doesn't matter to us. And then, obviously, it matters. And then Lawrence Frank gets up there at the end of the regular season this year and was like, we got to take the regular season seriously. And we're all looking around the room going like, gee, wonder who he's talking about. And
the medical staff is going,
it is what it is.
What? Who's he talking to?
So I think they could be a top 4 seed. I do. As currently constructed, I think they could.
I think it's 3 or 4.
Going their way, but
I just don't think Kawhi and
3
PG,
just seems high to me. 4 I can see.
Kawhi and PG, I don't think play enough to make 1 or 2, and that's not a knock on them. I just don't think that like we've kind of tried that strategy. It feels like.
Well, I hope you're ready for fewer back-to-backs.
I mean, I'm always ready for fewer back-to-backs.
So, I mean, based on the schedule dates, it looks like they've tried to limit back-to-backs again because they pushed the end of the regular season back 2 weeks. They pushed the start of the regular season back to the 24th, and they've pushed the final day of the regular season to April 24th, which is 2 weeks after it ended this past year. So, when I went to Summer League on the Saturday, the first day I was there, I went to the what was it called? It was NBA Con.
Oh my God!
At Mann.
What a great
at
name!
Mandalay Bay. But that's where they announced the details of the in-season tournament, and so they did all that stuff there. And then I was at the convo between Joe Dumars, Byron Spruill, and Evan Wash. And Evan Wash was kind of the mind behind the analytical side of the in-season tournament to get it to work. And they said, this is what they said is during knockout rounds, teams that are not playing in knockout rounds are going to play the next night after those games. So essentially, the way that I kind of understood that was there's a block of schedule in November where teams don't know who they're playing. They're just not going to know because because if they don't get out of the knockout round early enough, or if they get knocked out early, they're going to be playing teams who also got knocked out early, and you don't know who those
Right.
teams are. So I kind of think that's going to be their way to also limit back-to-backs. Like the in-season tournament, those games are not going to be back-to-backs, at least not the second night of a back-to-back.
I mean, that begs the
So-
realest of questions, Russo. Could the Clippers, as currently constructed, win the NBA Cup?
The
No,
cup?
stop.
You don't think they could win the
Stop.
cup?
If a team wins that, do they have an immediate
The Clippers?
championship
Maybe.
The
parade?
Clippers will.
They might just do it
Yeah,
down
why
Las
not?
Vegas Boulevard.
That's
All right.
basically a preview of everything that's going to happen to the winner of the in-season tournament. They will just be roundly mocked. People will
Ridiculed.
say it means
Sure.
nothing. Congrats on the $500,000, but we don't care. Before we move on to the hot take, I do want to ask about somebody else who's been brought in as a Clipper now that a lot of people were looking at for some time, including us on this show. But KJ Martin, Justin, I brought up in our last episode, I'd love to see him get 20 minutes a night. Bottom at least 20 minutes a night. Is that crazy? I know it's still dependent on what happens with guys moving in that position and what transpires in the offseason, but how much should he be playing in your mind?
25. I think he's going to be a 25-minute per game guy. I think that I think he gives them things that they just don't have. I know everyone's going to focus in on he's this incredible dunker and all this stuff, and yes, he really is. I think he was 7th this past season in dunks. I wrote about him a couple weeks ago and his fit on the team. Like, I don't think people realized how efficient he is around the rim. I think among qualified players, I think he was like neck and neck with Anthony Davis on field goal percentage around the rim this past year, which I think he was like 4th or 5th in the league at that point. He finishes around the rim like an elite big man, and he's 6'6", 6'7", And I think that he has a little bit more defensive ability than people think. He said he's working and has more off the dribble game than he was able to show in Houston. Whether or not I feel comfortable with watching that transpire is another story. But he says he has it, so you got to believe him until he shows he doesn't. I don't know if I buy the 3-point shooting with him. I also don't think it'll matter for the most part. I think if they really have gone all in to, I'm not going to say small ball. I don't think they've gone all into that, as evidenced by Mason Plumlee being back, which is
Mason
fine.
Plumlee being back is great.
It's great. Yeah, it's fine. I mean, Zoo was basically dead in the water for 70% of the season last year before they acquired him. I look at it as
He's a nectar guy. He's a nectar guy.
You missed it when I had your name as Love's Maps, which I'm hoping someone points out.
I saw it and I chuckled. But I think he gives them a different ability to play basketball. When I talked to him at his introductory press scrum in Vegas, I asked him, I said, do you think people focus too much on positions and rather than skill set? And he said, I'm a basketball player. It doesn't really matter what position you throw me in. I'm there to play. But he did say he's a 3, 4, and 5. So
great.
I mean, if you have 3 positions, I don't know if you have any position, but I'd rather the Clippers have him than not have him. I think he's a great fit for them. I think he's so much different than Terance Mann that they could conceivably play together.
Yeah, he's a much more. I agree with that. I mean, I don't think he has the playmaking that Terance Mann has, or the ability to even handle the ball. Not that Terance Mann has incredible ability to handle the ball, but more than KJ Martin in terms of starting an offense on a second unit or something like that. We were talking about that second unit of, what was it? It was like Terance, Bones, KJ,
Norm,
Plum, and then like Norm is like an insanely fun sounding second unit. I don't know about how defending, but offensively, that's a really fun unit to watch.
It would be interesting because I think Plumlee, and I wrote about this, I think Plumlee and KJ can play together even with without the spacing element, really. Especially because Plumlee's such a good facilitator from the elbows, and they could run really interesting 4-5 or 5-4 pick and rolls if they really want to. But the one thing I did right is if you have KJ Martin, you can't have him on the floor alongside a center and Russ.
That's three
those
people
three should not be
charging
on the
towards the
floor.
paint at every opportunity.
Right. I don't think that is a way forward. But if you took a center off the floor or you took Russ off the floor, I think it's good. I think it could work. It also depends on what forwards remain on the roster beyond just Kawhi and PG. So, I mean, the thing I've been kind of beating the drum about for the last couple of months is it's time for Kawhi and PG to start playing the 3 and the 4. Like they need to stop being 2s and 3s. They need to start being 3s and 4s. I think
then
that's
there's no
just
room
the way
for Marcus
forward.
Morris in the starting lineup. So I don't know what to tell you, Russo.
Some are saying, not me, of course.
All right, we got to take a break because we got to give the advertisers an opportunity to help us pay our light bill. We're going to be talking some off-season hot takes as well as how often Russo is going to be wearing his sunglasses at games next year. If the ads have been loud for you, go ahead and turn it down. We got ads coming up in 3, 2, 1.
All right, we're back. Welcome into Clips and Dip. If you're just tuning in, look. We're rounding it. We're rounding this thing off. We're gonna talk about some off-season hot takes as well as some of my favorite Justin Russo eyewear. So Russo, I'll kick it to you. What is your hottest take for the upcoming Clippers season?
My hottest take is if the Clippers were all in on a third guy, I think the third guy should be Zach Lavine, not James Harden. That's my hottest take.
Is that a truthful hot take? Like that's a real belief of yours, or you're just Skip Baylin it? Skip Baylin it.
Hey,
well,
all of our hosts believe everything all of our guests believe everything they say. Come on, Adam.
So he's playing the 2 next to Russell Westbrook in the starting lineup.
Yeah, if I had it, it would be Russ, Lavine, PG, Kawhi, and Zoo. I generally think that, just speaking from a basketball standpoint, that Lavine has been pretty underrated the last couple of years.
Because of the deal. The guy gets paid.
You look at him.
Injury.
Because of the yeah. Well, and the injury, yeah. I think the thing that people also have overlooked because of his injury is how durable he's been. Like since the last 4 years, he's played like 85% of the games. Like that's like Clipper fans would kill for a guy like that to play 85% of the games a year, So, like, I remember, like, one of the things everyone loved about Russ is his availability. And it's like, okay, well, but with Lavine on the court, I think he is an elite shooter who doesn't get the acclaim of an elite shooter simply because people still view him as just a dunker. Right. And, like, you look through his career, he's an elite catch and shoot guy, elite driving to the rim, elite finisher around the rim, great jump shooter, mid-range, etc. No, he's not a good defender. But I also my big gripe has been I think people care about defense.
That's your big gripe.
That's been my big gripe lately. Yeah, I think people give a
I think that you're 100% right. I agree with you. Like even when like the Clippers defense has like been the best and the offense is like slogging, you're not stopping 100% of like what another team is doing.
But we shouldn't care about it.
I'm not saying you shouldn't
you
care
said
about
too
it
much.
at all.
All right.
But too much. I think that's 100% fair.
I want games to be 92-74.
Also,
I want 10
Davion
Mitchells playing each other every single game, and no one scores.
Spurs Pistons.
Give me that.
Pistons finals again.
Weren't the Bulls a top 10 defense last season? I've seen him play good defense at times. I think a lot of it is he has too much of the scoring load on his plate to focus much energy on that end. I'm a big fan of Zach Lavine, so I don't know if this is my hot take jumping on and piggybacking onto what Justin Russo's saying, but I do think there's a lot more to his game that's substance than style than people realize.
So what's your offer in this scenario for Zach Lavine?
I think you just offer everything you can. I think with Lavine, I think
Terance.
The reason
Terance,
I would offer
the 2 firsts you can trade, and then whatever salary to get it done.
Because Lavine's locked up to a longer deal, so like you don't have to worry about like he might walk. I also think the fact that I think he's 27 still.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I'm not exactly sure if that's how old
He's
he is,
20,
but
yeah.
I feel like he's 27. Okay. Oh, sorry.
What?
Can't
You
be
thought he was
Wow,
27? He's
Russo just
28.
lost all credibility in one
Yeah.
sentence on this podcast.
Next.
No, but like he's got age working in his way. He has the athleticism the Clippers need, especially in the open floor. Elite offensive player. Gotten better as a playmaker over the years. I'm not going to say he's a great playmaker.
We have
but he's
enough.
gotten better as
I
a
think we have
playmaker.
enough.
Yes, Chuck.
Like
Enough guys who can kind of play make. We have a lot of those guys. Also, Lavine locked in for 2 more years and then a player option in 26-27 when he's 31, which is very helpful for the Clippers.
Yeah, I think I generally think I would go for him over James Harden, but I will say I understand why the Clippers would go for James Harden. All the guys on the team like James Harden. He's from the area. 1 year left. If it all goes bad, you can just nuke the whole thing anyways. So I get it. But with Lavine, I think the upside play is a little bit longer, especially because I think with Lavine, he keeps your window open like an extra year almost, just because of his age.
yeah, I think that's fair.
Will, what's your hot take?
Hot take. Oh man, I really did not plan ahead for this one at all.
You mean you're recording from my kitchen because you were late from work and you didn't have any time to prepare? What the hell, man?
My hot take.
Is this idea stemming from the weather recently in the heat wave? It's like, oh, we got to go hot takes today. Too sweaty, Chuck.
I'm
Mockler.
covered in sweat. I'm in a tiny room. This is a nightmare for everyone who's watching on YouTube. They can just see me pouring sweat right now.
You guys said I
My
was
hot
hot
take is that
boxing.
the Clippers should spend
I'm about to hot
the
box.
first 3 quarters of the season trying to give Paul George his absolute best number season that he's ever put up to get him the hell off this team. At the trade deadline.
Oh shit!
That's what I'm going with.
It's a pretty good hot take.
I think you got to pump up that value and let's try to get a little return, baby.
Man, that's a solid one.
Chuck, where are you at? Something
It's just
more
not
positive?
happening. So
It's just not going to happen. Yeah,
it's
totally.
not going to happen, but it's also not happening like the Larry O.B. isn't happening with this iteration of the team. So I would say try to maximize your value. Don't be fucking Daryl Morey in this situation and really wait it out.
Hot take for the season. I have a crazy one, but I don't know if it's even possible. Would be that Ty Lue would be fired mid-season.
Whoa, what?
I have no idea how that would happen.
Who do you want to replace him?
I'm not saying I want that to happen. I'm just saying
That's
think
what
that's
a take is.
No, I don't think it takes necessarily that. I think the possibility of it's there. The thing that I would want to happen would be I'm gonna steal Russo's. The Lavine trade, he's talked me into it. I don't know if Harden. That seems like a nightmare from.
Come up with your own bid. Russo did that one. Next. Come up with
I
your
did.
own
I
bid.
said Ty Lue would maybe get fired.
Too many freeloaders on this podcast, Justin. Glad
There's a
you're
lot of
here.
freeloaders on this podcast. One of them's freeloading in my damn kitchen right now. No, hot take. This one is, again, these are just things I don't want to happen, but I think they might. Hot take, Marcus Morris starting for opening night.
That's not
Don't
that
say
great.
that
Not
because
very
I hate.
hot.
That's a crazy thing. That's insane. They've already tried to trade him
I don't
once.
think you understand what a hot take is.
I do. I think that would be insane if that happened. All right, how about
Okay,
this,
so
Marcus
My hot
Morris?
take is
Chuck's
that
right.
pi actually equals 3.14.
It's a lot more than that,
Yeah,
buddy.
dude.
But Chuck's right. On the surface, it's insane to see that happen, but I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. And I'm not going to say
It's insane that it is happening.
I'm not gonna say that
as of right now, where we sit, that does not seem like that wild of a scenario, though.
They've already tried to trade him.
I think it would be pretty wild.
They've already tried to move him. The first thing they did, other than cut Eric Gordon, was say, let's get Marcus Morris off the team. And then the Celtics were like, you can't see our medical reports. And then they said, okay, bye, which was the right decision. But
Was it the right decision, Russo?
Yeah, yeah. So
Thank you, Justin.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. The Clippers wanted more, from what I have heard. I've talked to a couple of people about this. The Clippers wanted more time to review the medical stuff, and Boston was up against a deadline because of Porzingis's having to pick up his player option. But like, I guess there's some wishy-washiness afoot there, where like Boston could have talked to Porzingis about pushing the deadline back, so that Washington and Porzingis could have pushed it back so they can negotiate the other thing. But I don't know what really happened on that front. But basically, the Clippers wanted time to look at the medical stuff, and it just didn't. They weren't afforded the time. I'm not saying anyone's at fault.
Sounds like
I don't think
Boston's
anyone's
fault.
really at fault there. I'm not going to blame Boston. It is their fault, but I'm not going to blame Boston. But no, I think they were fine to back out of it. It'll be interesting because they might go back and talk about Brogdon again. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. Brogdon fits. He's always
We
injured,
got a
so
lot
he
of
fits.
potential
Perfect
guys who
Clipper.
always fit. He's a perfect Clipper. Well, Justin, over. Okay, so I have it pegged at 2.5. Will took the over. Adam took the under on games you're going to wear sunglasses to next season. Where do we think it? It's under?
It's under.
So 2?
It's under. It's under. Probably
All right,
two.
you look for it too.
So hold on. Are you counting it as games where I show up in the sunglasses, even just
Nope,
like for a
you're wearing them the
second?
whole time, man.
Or like I actually have to sit? Oh, the whole time? None.
Okay, we'll
He's
see.
been bitten by that
None.
once. He's not going to make that mistake again.
And we thought you were the Slash of reporters.
We'll see. We'll see if he doesn't get bitten by that again.
I mean, I walk in sometimes with them on, but then I'll take them off for the regular glasses later on. That's always happens in.
Well, I hope
for
nothing happens
afternoon
to your
games.
glasses when you're at
But,
before the game.
Thanks.
41
I'm
home
just gonna
games for me to
steal them
figure
now.
something out to get you to 2 games wearing those sunglasses.
Just tell everyone they're Jokelys, guys. You don't need to steal these.
Russo, thank you so much for joining Clips and Dip. It's our second season. It's been wonderful to have you. Where can these fantastic, highly intelligent listeners find your work? Because you recently made a bit of a change. It's still your elite Clippers coverage, despite when you try and talk about Marcus Morris helping out on rebounds. People were so mad at you for that tweet, and it is so funny to me.
Oh, you were
So
the Jon
mad.
Snow gift,
So
just
mad.
fighting.
It
them
was
all
so,
off.
well, the funny part was that I think you literally just tweeted out like, whoa, something weird I'd noticed. Marcus Morris, da-da-da-da-da. Like, it wasn't some like Marcus Morris needs to be starting. Like, you literally just pointed it out.
So the funny part about that was it's quite literally what the Clippers were using as
Totally.
the reason for him starting. So it's not like I just brought it to the forefront as like.
So
a random
you don't think
thing.
it had something to do with
it's-
just players on the court more comfortable with him because of his shot creation in the past, and Kawhi and Paul George wanted him out there, Coach Lou wanted him out there for that?
I think that played a factor, and then I think they looked at numbers that basically said, "Hey, when he's off the floor, but all the other guys are on, some of our rebounding numbers are down, some of our defensive numbers are down, some of our 3-point numbers are down." It wasn't. This isn't to say that Marcus Morris was a incredible difference maker on the floor, because all this stuff was kind of marginal to a little degree, but at the same point, it's what they looked at. I mean, they have an analytics staff that went over stuff. And if I'll put it to you like this, if the numbers are saying that things are somewhat even in a lot of capacity, and then you ask the players who they would prefer, and the players pick that guy out there,
Right.
that's just the way it's going to be.
Makes sense.
Did a
Lean that
ghost
way.
just,
So,
did a ghost just go underneath
I
you?
mean, no, my dog is walking around and trying to chew on things that I'm trying to stop him
That's
from.
my
So
nut.
it's going
Sounds
great.
dangerous. So where can these people find your fantastic work now that we've...
You can find me on Substack at justinrusso.substack.com. I haven't started. It's free for right now, but it will be subscription based during the regular season. But for right now, it's still free if people want to stop by and read stuff and just see the random things I end up writing about. Like, I'm in the process of writing about 5 types of role players that the Clippers should possibly look at that are like non-stars. So, like for instance, one of the guys on the list is DeAnthony Melton.
There we go.
About the
Maybe a PJ Tucker in there. He might be a future Clipper, as we talked about before.
Just not doing it.
Well, thank you so much. Will, where can these fantastic people find this podcast, which will be out next week around Wednesday or Thursday, maybe with a guest, who knows? Where could they listen to us?
So you can check us out wherever you listen to your podcast, Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can leave a rating or review for us, which really helps us out. But we're also on Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Deezer, Amazon Music. And check out our YouTube over at youtube.com/Clippers Podcast. Chop it up with us anytime over on Twitter. That's at Clippers Pod.
Yep. And Adam, one positive thing to let these fans off with while they enjoy their weekend.
Justin Russo looks good in glasses. Well, I don't know what you want. He's
Nailed
a stylish guy. I see him all the time hanging out with the GM row. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Now say, I'll
man.
be back on this podcast like you are the Terminator.
I'll be back on this podcast.
We thank everyone for listening. We'll be back with you next week. And as always, what do we say? Oh, yeah, that's right. Let's go Clips.